This is What's Wild in New Hampshire by wildlife biologist Derek Orff. Hey, today I'm at the Hampshire Audubon McLean Center here in Concord with an awesome person, Dr. Pam Hunt. We're from the Hampshire Audubon. She's a wildlife biologist with the Hampshire Audubon. She is like a volcano of knowledge. I mean, every time I enjoy talking to her because she knows about dragonflies and about butterflies and also about birds. But today we want to talk about birds because this last week I did a little video about why I'm not seeing birds at my home, and I had quite a few up to the end of the year, but it seems like the new year my birds disappeared, Pam. And I put that out there, and we've had quite a few people saying I don't have any birds and some people said, no, I've got my normal birds. So I had my normal birds, not a bad year, but not a good year, and now it's turned into not so much a good year. What's happening with New Hampshire's birds this winter? Who's here and who's not, and why?
Okay, well, the quick short answer to that question is we always hear this. Every year people are missing their birds, and every year people have their birds. And we do something, this is a perfect opportunity to plug our Backyard Winter Bird Survey that comes up the second weekend in February. If you go to our website, www.nhaudubon.org, you can dig around and find it. We actually use that as a tool to count winter bird populations in the state in mid-February. And we've got like 1,500 people doing it. And every year we get people saying, where's all my birds? And every year we get no indication that there's been any dramatic changes in most species. So the common feeder birds are staying stable or increasing in most cases. So it's really a case of birds just move around. And if there's a lot of natural food in the woods or in the fields, they will be out there. And they'll come to your feeders when they want to or when you're not looking, and all sorts of things. So right now, with one notable exception, which we'll get to, the birds we have are here, and I don't see any obvious changes in big numbers.
So we've had no population decline. They're missing from my house, but
right.
they went to somebody else's house.
Or they're out in the natural habitat where there's also.
So they really don't need to be fed, right?
Right. That is totally not true. There is no data to suggest that birds cannot survive without feeders. They know what they're doing. They've been feeding in the woods of New England for thousands and thousands of years without people having sunflower seed, and they don't seem to have suffered terribly from that.
Well, that's good to know. So, if they're not missing out at my house, I'm glad they're not just missing out. Yeah. What are some of the more common birds we're having this winter? And I know and different birds come different winters. Who's missing this winter? Yeah,
the big thing that's missing this winter are what we call the winter finches. And last winter we had redpolls, we had pine grosbeaks, we had crossbills, we had siskins, we had lots of red-breasted nuthatches, which aren't a finch. But all those birds are moving south every other year or so when there's a loss of food up in the boreal forest of Canada and northern New England. So there's no cones up there. They come south to find cones and eat them. There was a ton of white pine cone masts 2 falls ago, and that brought all these birds in there. Those birds are not down here at all this winter. They're all still up north.
And who's here, to your surprise?
Not much. There has not been any clear movements of things. A couple of species that we track on the Backyard Winter Bird Survey that are continually increasing, one of which is very popular is bluebirds.
Yes.
There's been a lot of bluebirds.
There's been a ton of those on the
all over the place.
Post. Oh, yeah.
Yep, and they come to feeders if you've got mealworms or sometimes suet. So they're probably doing fine. Carolina wrens and red-bellied woodpeckers, which are southern species that are slowly moving north, are apparently doing fine. We'll find out. This cold snap we've been in could affect the wren. They kind of don't like the winter as much, but they're slowly adapting to colder weather. And the weather, of course, is getting warmer. Present week may be accepted. So yeah, there's nothing. There's been no influxes of anything different. The cold weather we had in November was actually a colder than normal November, and a lot of some of the species like sparrows actually cleared out. There's fewer sparrows around when I've been out walking the woods of Concord, fields of Concord than most winters.
Now December was one of the warmest on record. Did you see a change there?
I think once things take off, they don't come back until the next migration kicks in.
Okay, so once they drain, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, they're kind of they're what we call facultative migrants. So they'll move when they need to move, but they won't go back and forth. They'll just move, and then they'll move again if they need to, and then in the spring they start working their way back.
Okay, all right. So no big surprises.
Right now there's been no big surprises. Things have been very quiet, and I think a lot of it is because November was cold and things just cleared out. Even on the coast, there's fewer things.
How about our truncated winters due to climate change? Has that impacted the birds that we're seeing to any degree?
I think what usually happens with our shorter / warmer winters is that lingering things like thrushes, hermit thrushes that normally winter to the south, stay wintering farther north,
Okay.
and they can survive better. And things like Carolina wrens I mentioned that are less cold tolerant will have a better chance of surviving. So a lot of these things that migrate fairly short distances. Last winter there was a phoebe, for God's sakes, in Candia, all winter long.
Wow.
But thrushes, towhees, winter wrens, things like that are normally not this far north, are increasingly common this far north because probably as winters are warmer and they can tolerate those
You
conditions.
said you saw a flicker earlier today.
I heard a flicker this morning, which is another one of those things that's not common.
Yeah, I've
in the
never
winter
seen a
in New
flicker in the
Hampshire.
winter. No, no.
Yep.
Huh, awesome. So we're status quo. Nothing's
Yeah.
missing. Nothing's dramatic happening this winter. It's all a figment of my imagination.
Or not imagination, or a figment of reality.
Yeah, okay.
Because reality is bigger than your yard or this person's yard or my yard, and so on and so forth. So things are going to vary. Some things vary year by year, like the finches and the nuthatches, and some things move around, and some things increase. And there's nothing that I'm aware of that's dramatically unusual or concerning going on
That
for
is
this winter.
great news, Pam. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tell us that website again and how people can join the New Hampshire Audubon in this midwinter survey. Give us that website and how they might join Audubon for doing that.
Yeah, and you can join Audubon even if you don't do the survey. We welcome new members.
Oh, yeah.
Our website is www.nhaudubon.org, and if you go there, you might have to dig around, but if you look around, you'll find the Backyard Winter Bird Survey, or you can Google it, it'll probably pop up. And that's February 13th and 14th, I think it is, whatever the second weekend of February is. And it's a weekend-long count. People can go out and count the birds at their feeders. We'll send you information. The information's on the web, and it's always good to get data.
Hey, great. So people can help out in counting our winter birds. This is wildlife biologist Air Horse for What's Wild in New Hampshire.